Sure. We are live. Hello, everyone. Right, I'm just going to share this into one of the Facebook groups before we get going. So just bear with me one moment, please. Here we go. All right. Share to a group that's looking really good on the timeline there. Let's have a look. Empower You Energy Healing shared. And that is it. Awesome. Right. Let's get this show going. Right, so hello everyone, and thank you for joining us. My goodness, I have a fabulous interview lined up for you today. What can I say about my next guest? She's an American actress, screenwriter, film director, and producer, no less. Writing and producing her first feature named A Gun for Alice. She also starred in the leading role. This was screened at no less than 27 international film festivals and gained a European cult following. Subsequently, she was cast in the leading role of the movie Molotov Samba. Further hit TV shows included appearances on Friends, Law and Order, Special Victims Unit, Criminal Intent, White Collar, and Gravity. There are over 20 movies, in fact, she starred or co-starred in, including Kick-Ass, Porn and The Midnight Game, A Cry from Within, and The Networker. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my delight to bring you the brilliant Deborah Twiss, all the way from New York. Deborah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. So great to be here.
Yeah, nice one. I'd like to just dive straight in, if I may.
Yeah.
You're clearly having a fabulous career, and I was just wondering how it all began for you. I mean, as a child, did you always want to be an actress? What are your early inspirations and influences, etc.?
So I was 3 years old, and I was standing in front of the TV, and I knew how much fun they were having inside there. And I turned to my parents and I said, when I grow up, I'm going to get inside the TV with them. And my parents laughed and they're like, you can't really do that, Debbie. And I'm like, no, I can. And then I made sure I did. And I started writing when I was 6 years old. So, I was like very, very motivated from a very young age. And I just wanted to create. And I never got sidetracked for very long.
Wow, that's so inspirational. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up until I was probably about early 30s, to be honest. So to know at such a young age you were already writing, began writing. So where do you think the inspiration comes from? How does it land for you?
Well, it's funny. Since I was very little, well, I should back up. My parents had me when they were really young. They were 17 and 19. And so my dad was still in college and my mom had to work and everything. So I was being raised by my grandmother's sisters because my grandmother died before I was born. And these women were from Poland and they were Polish Catholic, but I think there was some gypsy or something in there because like they saw ghosts in their house all the time. And I was very, very used to the fact that they were seeing ghosts. And they'd be like, oh, your Grandma Mary's here. She just walked by. I was like, oh, okay, great. And then I started seeing things. When my grandfather died, I saw him in the basement, just sitting in a chair, waving at me. And so I was kind of like born into this very open type of life. And from the very, very young age, I literally could feel almost like this flower that would open in my head when a new creative idea would come in. So even now, like I call it my portal and I write from my portal. And like, if I get a really great idea, I look up and I'm like, okay, thanks guys, I got it. and I'll go with it. So I always, the ideas have come through the portal. And what'll be happening is like I'll experience something in my life and then, it'll be like really exciting or really horrific or devastating or wonderful. And I just feel where that is in my body. And I know that it's coming to me so that I can process it into something creative. And that's when I open the portal and I'm like, okay, guys, what do you got for me? What should I do with this? And then it happens. Like I've been able to write a 70-page script in one day in one sitting. literally, it was channeling through me. I could feel Eileen. It came through so fast, like the images and the words and the characters. It was just coming and coming and coming. And then it just was there in the computer. And it was amazing, because it's actually the original feature script that my series is based on, A Beautiful Distraction. And I finished that first pass, and it was on a Sunday. Like I sat down with the computer, the laptop, at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and by probably 9 o'clock at night, I typed, the end. And I got up and I felt all like woozy and everything, because so much had been going through me all day. I mean, it was literally like just downloads. And I went into the kitchen and I felt like I was buzzing. I could feel like I had totally been like, in tune with the divine for the entire day and plugged in. And to like unplug was just like, I didn't know what to do with the energy that was still in me. It was amazing. Really amazing.
Wow, you're so full of surprises. And if I can just back up myself a little, I meant to mention that we're going to be talking about your brand new, exciting series, A Beautiful Distraction, a little bit later on. So we're definitely going to want to stick around for that. And if I can just go to the comments for a moment, we've got various people online. My uncle Nola's on, he's saying hello. I've got my brother saying hello. There's Michael Jenkins saying hello. Isabel saying hello.
Hey, Isabel.
Yeah. Just thank you for joining us. Please do feel able to drop more comments in the box, any questions you may have for Deborah as we're moving forward. So yeah, as I see, you're full of surprises. You're actually seeing discarnate, seeing spirits from a young age, a portal. I must admit, I've got a portal in my office where I work. Inspiration just floods through, so I'm sitting taking notes almost. You just get yourself out of the way, don't you? And just start taking notes. It's coming through you. It's not from you, it's through you. So, God, this is so inspiring. I was wondering, do you have a preference between writing and acting if you had to choose one? Thankfully, you don't, but do you have a preference?
I can't. It's like saying which of my children is my favorite or which of my animals are my favorite. Do you know what I mean? I mean, they each has like such a different place in my heart that it occupies that I mean, I don't think I would ever have to choose.
Yeah.
Honestly. And acting is so fun, especially if I'm like, doing other people's scripts, because then it helps me kind of tune into like what their download was, even if they're not, even if they think they don't write from that place. I believe everybody does. I think that's the way all creativity comes. So that's the great thing about when I'm acting, I'm getting in touch with somebody else's portal.
Yeah, definitely. I've heard before other spiritual teachers saying that the best actors and actresses are good at getting their own personality out of the way, and they're almost channeling another personality, another character. So that was on my question. That was one of the questions I wanted to ask you and talk about. So it probably comes as no surprise that you can literally channel things or channel through ideas, downloads, I think you called it. And I don't know. So how long does it typically take you to put a series together? Like, for example, the one you're creating now.
It's
Or can it vary?
You never know. It could be. I mean, one of the actors from my series, Vivica Fox,
Yes.
she has her own kind of like an Oprah Winfrey kind of television show right now, and they've been trying to put that together for 8 years. So, it could take a really long time. It could happen almost overnight, and that's also one of the reasons why, like, I'm trying to find a new way to do this so that I don't have to take the 8-year route, because I don't have the patience for that. I just don't. But it's a lot of work.
Yeah, but I remember Jim Carrey once saying that the deeper he got into acting roles, um, the the more he kind of questions his own personality, and he thought, if I can get Jim out of the way and into another character so easily and deeply, who is Jim Carrey? And on the back of that, he had a massive spiritual awakening. But by the sounds of it, you've always kind of been, even as a small child, you've had this awareness, this ability. So I just wondered your own thoughts and experiences on the subject of getting into a role.
Well,
Getting
I
into
totally,
it.
I studied many different kinds of acting in New York, and like one is Stella Adler, which looks at kind of like the broad themes that are in society. Like you look at marriage and what does that mean, and on a more grand level, what does that mean, or death, or work, or whatever. And then there's places like Lee Strasberg, which is all about like, oh, well, how do I feel? How do I feel? How do I feel? And then there's Meisner, which is just like reacting to whatever the other person is giving you. And so I think it's really fun to like, take all of those things. And that's one of the reasons it's so important for actors to train in a lot of different techniques. You take all those things, and for each role, you'll find like, okay, I need more of this than this other thing, or I need more of that. And then the most important thing is to dedicate yourself 1,000,000% to it, because to me, like, I believe in reincarnation too, and so of course I mean the whole ball of wax, I'm
You've
in.
got a choice, yeah.
But to me, if I'm being cast in a role, then it is a gift that somehow in some other incarnation or even a parallel reality, I am living that person. That's what I come from. And so then I look in my own life to see where the little hints are that relate to that. And that's how I personally like hook in on a spiritual, energetic level. And it's definitely not something that they're going to teach you in acting school.
No.
but it was my interpretation of everything that I learned.
Yeah, nice one. I'm just going back to the comments a second, Deborah. We've got different people saying hello. Chris Alvin saying hello. Hi, Chris. Bob Paddock saying hi. Hiya, Bob. Michael Powell saying hi, Danny and Deborah. Isabel is asking a couple of questions which are linked. She's saying, I still get them up on the screen. She's saying a question I've always wondered is how do you step out of the energy of the heavier roles? And the second part to that is, which I can remind you later, is, and have you ever found that after playing those heavier roles, that they affect your life and manifestations? Two excellent questions there, Isabel. Thank you.
Absolutely, 1,000,000%. If it's like a darker role that, like just recently, I had to play a role where I was the fiance of this guy Dylan Walsh. I don't know if you know him from Nip Tuck. And I'm supposed to come to his house to a crime scene, and he's been killed. And I'm devastated and I'm crying. And we had to shoot that over the course of probably 6 hours. So I had to keep getting back into like freshly devastated and crying. And by the time I left there, I was just like, oh God, I feel so horrible.
Yeah.
But then it was like, okay, all right, that was that. And now this is this. It's kind of along the same lines as whenever, we've had like any human being that's had a bad day, the best way to deal with it is to be like, okay, well, that was that moment, and now I'm in a new moment, and all that matters right now is what I can feel in the present. And just like, yes, those emotions are there and they're like flowing through me, but just let them flow like water. Just let them go.
Yeah. Yes, just as well you can do that. That's beautifully explained, and I think you have to have a lot of self-awareness in the first place to know, where Deborah is and where she ends, and where other people's emotions start and end. And so it's such a gift you can do that. And as I say, the second part to that question from Isabel is, has it affected your manifestations? So for example, I'm speculating what you're thinking. Say you were playing a victim of a robbery, for example, and you're getting into that mindset every day, that energy, that acting role. So could you then have manifested a potential situation where someone tried to rob you, just for example?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. The movie that I wrote, that I was in, A Gun for Jennifer, is about an abused woman who kills her husband in self-defense, flees to New York, almost gets raped right off the bus, and then joins with this band of women who go after criminals who have committed awful crimes against women, and they, execute vigilante justice. So I was in the process of doing a lot of promotion. The movie was coming out in Paris, and I stayed with a very dear friend of mine by Leal, and Leal can be kind of sketchy at night. But I'm from New York, so I'm like, whatever, it can't be. How bad can it be? And so I was walking through Leal at maybe 9 o'clock at night after a really good couple of meetings I'd had, and this group of guys surrounded me, and the one guy reached out, he grabbed my arm, and I didn't even know what happened. I've never studied karate, but I went and went like that, and I got him really hard on his on his arm, like right here, this bone, so that it would hurt as much as possible. It didn't hurt my hand at all, and I turned around and I was like, I walked away, and he was in pain, and all his friends were laughing at him. And as I walked away, I was like, oh my gosh, only because I'd played this role where I rose up against this did I have the guts, because that's not me. I've never even fought with a girl. I would go up against a group of guys in Paris. It was crazy. But then as I was walking and I was calming down and letting the adrenaline kind of reassimilate in my body, I thought to myself, well, maybe it's because I've been, in that movie and took it so literally while I was in it, that it was even attracted to me, these guys coming and surrounding me. So, it goes all ways, that not only did I attract it, but then I knew how to deal with it. So it's interesting. But I have a better story about manifesting.
Yeah, love to hear it. Yes.
I wrote a story, a movie that I put it on YouTube, not YouTube, on my Vimeo page and everything. It meant a lot to me. It's a movie about 9/11, and it's called In Between, and it's actually about the in between place between life and death. And I have this feeling that a lot of people that die in a very violent, unexpected way end up in this in between place, and they get to live out different things until they can come to terms with what happened to them. And when I wrote this, because we were 5 blocks away from the World Trade Center when the planes hit. We heard the first plane as it was descending, and the when a plane descends very quickly like that, the engines have a lot of trouble. They're like, nah, nah, nah. So that was what we heard, and then the explosion, and watched people jumping, and it was a very, very, very devastating thing. So it had stuck inside of me. And then after my kids were born, 2 years later, we were in Brooklyn, and I just had this idea. I was like, wow, what if that had never happened? What if I looked over across the bridge and I saw the World Trade Center still standing? I'd have to figure out when did I switch into a different reality? And am I even alive? Is that the reality that I prefer to be in? And I thought, wait a minute, that's a movie. That's a movie. So I made the movie. And while I was making that movie, we used the parlor floor of the brownstone in Brooklyn that we were living in. And there was this one armoire that was supposed to have housing that housed all the memories that this woman was trying to forget. Because in this in-between place, she was actually reunited with her dead fiance, and they're living their lives. And it's not real. And so she has to say goodbye to her fiance all over again. But it actually, I'm getting tingles.
Yeah.
What happened was it opened up a portal in that brownstone. And very shortly after we wrapped principal photography, we started getting these hauntings by this young boy who had died in that house. And so that was very obvious. It was like, okay, this very spot, because it was my daughter, who was only a year old at the time, would stand in that spot where the closet was, and that's where she would see this. She called him the bad boy, and he had died in the house, and it was really interesting. It was like and that's actually the subject for my film A Cry from Within, the one with Kathy Moriarty and Eric Roberts and everyone. And it's based on the actual haunting that we went through in our house in Brooklyn.
Wow, it's fascinating, fascinating stuff. It highlights the importance of being aware of where you're putting your energy as well. Yeah. So we've got a question from Nathan. He says, I'll put it on the screen. Let's have a look. See, I wonder how one manages in such a flippant world, how a person can maintain such positivity and radiate life as you do so much, and also not follow the mainstream narrative of Hollywood and diversify and take chances.
That's very sweet. Thank you for saying that. You know what? In my heart, I believe I achieved something that I decided I would do when I was really little, and that was never really grow up. So even when, like, because I've had crazy, awful, insane things happen with people betraying me and being mean and trying to like steal my ideas and everything. And partially I think that that's allowed to happen to me because I kind of stay in this positive, I guess, almost childlike kind of imagination world. But I'm not all rainbows and sunshine. I'm really not. And there are some very dark moments, but I acknowledge them as, I think, all right, sorry to be so like fragmented. There's something that I kind of realized after a recent betrayal, and that is with all these different things, like I seem to be like the one who exposes, the one who brings the light to the darkness. And I encounter the darkness a lot, but I will always stand strong in the light and not reduce myself to behaving the way others will. And what it ends up doing is it helps expose to the rest of the world the darkness that these other people have, or these companies, or whatever. And so, you know, just by kind of accepting the fact that I'm maybe here to help heal others, by even just letting them have the space to like express their dark side and then, you know, hold them accountable for that, I'm okay with that. It's like, I mean, for a long time it was like, oh my God, why does this keep happening to me? Why does this keep happening to me? And then I'm like, wait a minute, no, this isn't happening to me. This is happening for me, and it's happening for the world, because nothing would happen to me. It all is for us. It's all to grow us. It's all to like, you know, help us take our stand in how we're going to change the world. And so that's, you know, when this stuff happens, it's like, okay, well, you know, that interaction with that person didn't go the way I wanted, but what does that show me? Where is the doubt inside of me? I just feel like it's all, everything is related. We're all like one energy. We're just like, you know, in tiny little packages of meat suits. And while we're in our meat suits, we think we're separate, but we're really not.
Yeah, and I guess these so-called lessons or challenges keep bringing us in, and however harrowing they may be at the time. You look back down the metaphorical mountain and realize that even though that might have sent you a curveball at the time, now it's, you know, something, if something happens similar, it might feel more like just a minor bump in the road in comparison, because you grew and you transformed, become a lot stronger through it, and learned how to navigate it. Yeah, and obviously you're putting yourself out there to more people, so you have to hold a lot more energy when you're doing interviews and talking to audiences, etc. So obviously the life lessons that you have to come along with that will be alongside that. I suppose my question would be, what the whole celebrity thing. I interviewed somebody else before, and he talks about the illusion of celebrity and how people get all weird with you and say, oh, they get all funny when in fact you just want to connect with them, perhaps. So, just wondering what your take on being high profile and how people treat you because of it.
I don't see myself as that at all. I don't see me as that. And, yeah, I don't. I mean, I've had people at film festivals and everything, and on Facebook contact me, and they're fans, but I don't see myself any different. So, I've definitely held on to the fact that I'm like just still little Debbie who likes to play with toys and her animals and play pretend. So I don't.
Yeah, it's good. You sound very grounded in that respect. I know we were chatting before we went live, and you asked me to remind you about the snowstorm on Long Island. I was asking if you had any funny stories to share, so I'm dying to hear this particular one. Any funny stories while you were filming or?
Oh my God. Yes. It was crazy. So we were shooting that the horror film that was based on what happened in the brownstone when I opened the portal to the haunting by the bad boy, who actually was not bad in the end. He just needed love. And we had Eric Roberts and Kathy Moriarty, and our camera team came all the way from Canada. So it was like a big deal. And we were shooting in February in Long Island. Not a smart thing. And but it was like, oh, that's when these actors are available, so we have to do it. So we started, and we were all staying at this La Quinta that was near this beautiful house that we got. It was like a 5,000 square foot, 150-year-old home that had spirits, of course. Yes. But so we were shooting, and we'd been there for a few days, and then there were all these reports about how there was going to be a nor'easter. You know what a nor'easter is, right?
No, I don't actually.
Oh, it's like the apocalypse of snowstorms that come up the Atlantic, and they combine with like Arctic. It's like a hurricane meets a snowstorm, and then like blah, all over the place, and it's just like 10 feet of snow and blizzard conditions and power outages. So of course, while we're stuck out on Long Island, there's like a nor'easter brewing. And then finally it hits, and it hits bad. And it's literally like 4 or 5 feet of snow. And we only had a certain amount of days before Eric Roberts had to fly to Russia. And so we had to like go. Like my husband drove our like SUV in this snowstorm. I mean, it was so bad. It was so dangerous. And he would shuttle, because it was the only car that we could get to go from the hotel, because they had rented a minivan, and you can't drive a minivan in 4 feet of snow. It was crazy. No. There were like there's this the LIE, the big highway that goes from like Long Island to Manhattan, and people had just like abandoned their cars in the snowstorm. It was that bad. Like it was so bad. But we were like, no, we have to shoot. The show must go on. And so we ended up getting to the location, and all we had was our camera team, which was a husband and wife team, and their child, who was actually playing the bad boy, which was perfect, thank goodness. And then my children were playing my kids, and then Eric Roberts and me. And so we were all there, but we didn't have the normal like hair and makeup or this or that or anything. We didn't have any support whatsoever. And I looked at Eric and I was like, well, we got to shoot. Want to do it? And he's like, sure. And I was like, let's get some other things that we never even thought of. Like, let's sit down and have a cup of coffee and like think of like, what are scenes that should be in the script that I didn't put in? And let's just improvise. And we had the best time. We had so much fun. We had a crew of 2 people, and we were just shooting. We had a 12-hour day, and like the snow got cleared up so we could then like get back to the hotel and everything. But it was so fun, and it was so funny, and it was completely crazy. Like it was like the snowstorm of the century, and we shot. He shot. It was crazy. It was so funny.
Oh, brilliant. Nathan's making some comments, and he's saying, never heard of that. I'm assuming he's meaning the snowstorm that I can't remember the name he gave it, but yeah, he's never heard of that either. I think it'd be brilliant if we could switch now to your new exciting series, The Beautiful Distractions, which I'd love to hear more about, the inspiration for it, and, when we can expect to be able to see it, and just a little bit of background about it, please.
Sure. Well, the website went live about half an hour ago, and basically it's about. I mean, it's a series, so there's a lot going on. It's about the whole kind of mythology surrounding Greek gods and ancient aliens and everything. Like, there's this belief that, like, the Greek gods, Greek and Roman gods, and the gods of all the ancient cultures actually were considered star beings. And there's a lot of evidence, and there's people like me who believe in the fact that humanity was actually like an experiment done by the star beings, and they came and they helped create us, and then they left us. I believe we were originally created as a slave race, and that's also why we age out at a certain point and die, because if you were going to create a slave race, you would not want them to become wise enough that they could understand where they are and what they're doing and why they've been doing it. You would want them to die off before they could become enlightened. And so, like, there's just so much evidence to me that is what we are, and that's what the show is about. And it's about how these, there are many of us that, and I believe this too, that there are many of us that are hybrids, and that have more of a direct line to these ancient star beings that seeded us. I think they became, in the show, they became in love with many humans that they grew attached to, and they're aware of the fact that we reincarnate as the same soul. And so there will be a star being, God, which whatever you want to call it, who follows a character. And so this is now at the point where the whole concept that the world was going to end in 2012, but people say, oh, well, it didn't happen. Actually, it did. The world did change. It shifted completely, and we are now on a different timeline. And that as time goes by, it's growing into separate paths completely, where I believe we are changing into like half of humanity, which is going to become more enlightened and embrace like the expanded DNA that we can have access to. And then there's the other part of DNA that's the other part of humanity that's going to go down the darker path and just dedicate even more to like the social constructs and the money and this and that and the things that don't have anything to do with spirit or energy. And that's what the whole show is about, and how like we're at this moment right now where a lot of us have to choose, and we have to like embrace it completely. And so a lot of these star beings are coming out and trying to like trigger the awakening within their soulmates that are humans or hybrid humans. But it's a lot of fun. It's a really, really, really fun series. I mean, I have the best time writing it. I can't even tell you.
Wow. Just to let everyone know who's watching, I'm hearing all this for the first time as well. I had no idea what the series. Well, I had a rough idea what the series was about, but no details at all. So I'm so excited, and I can't wait to be able to find out where and how I can watch it. I just may go to the comments a second. Bob Paddock saying Zachariah Stitchin, the 12 planet. Nathan saying fourth dimensional beings and trapped by the Anunnaki. He's also saying samurai texts, Egypt, worldwide evidence of what my lady's saying. Isabel saying fascinating. So, yeah, so plenty of interesting comments in there.
Yeah. No, so, everything, the whole show, like I've, ever since I was a kid, I would watch, In Search of, and then, I was addicted to the X-Files And now, like Ancient Aliens, like tonight is a sacred night, and my whole family knows. Don't leave mommy alone when Ancient Aliens is on, and they're like, that is like my time, and it's fascinating. There is so much evidence, and the longer, the more time goes by, and the more these kind of stories and these shows become mainstream, the more like it's apparent that there's a lot more going on than we've ever thought. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, clearly. I know that you're looking for help and support on getting your show out to the mainstream, and that's one of the reasons why you're here to talk about it and to promote it, and it's because it's certainly worthy of getting out to the mainstream audiences. So, would you like to share how people watching this today can actually support you in all of this?
Yes, very much, and thank you so much for doing this. I mean, this is really this means so much, and because of the show that I've created, and there's another part to it. While it's about the teenagers who are going through their own awakening and everything, most of the characters are over 40, and they're not grandparents. they're like creative, fascinating, interesting human beings that want adventure, that are sexy, that are like sensual, that are like that have so much life in them, because we have an aging population on this planet, and that's a good thing. Like, people should live longer, but that doesn't that there's something that goes with that, and that is that like there's a lot more life if you have more years. So rather than having shows that are only about people that are in their teens and 20s, and then that's it, it's like then they age out and who knows where they go into like the shadows. I really want to like stand in the fact that like that population needs to have like an adventure. They need, like, we all need to have more adventure in our lives, more connection to like energy and spirit, and these concepts that really, if you start thinking about it even a little bit, it just like brings you to life. And so by doing something like this that is completely outside the mainstream, especially here in America, like in the UK, you guys are more evolved because you've been around longer. The United States is only like what, 250 years old or something. It's like a child, and just like a petulant child, it only wants to hear like stories about children and cartoons. So we need to like change things a bit here, and the only way to do that, because the decision makers are all people that are like, okay, well, the only thing that works is like stories that are about teens and people in their 20s, and oh well, maybe a 30-year-old, I don't know. but like we need things that are really interesting, and not just if somebody's over 40 they're a cop or a judge. Like, no, there's so much more to life. So by doing this path, we put together this website, and on the website we're going to have all these cool extra monologues by the characters, the actors that are in it, different like EPK stuff, like people talking with each other about what's going on and what their beliefs are. I'm going to have a lot of stuff about like ancient aliens and Greek gods and all those things. Yeah, the Zachariah Sitchin stuff. There's so much evidence. And I want to try to build our following so that we have 1 million person base by December 31st, so that it is not even a question to a channel. It's like, well, of course we have to put this on. Look, they've got a following, they've got a base. Because even this morning, I was talking to someone about having maybe YouTube. YouTube is like producing their own content now. And it's like, oh, well, that's a young audience. So, if we're going to do YouTube, it's going to have to be like more geared toward the teens. I'm like, forget it then, I'm out. No, I don't want to make that. I'll have teens in the show, but it's not geared toward them. It's geared toward humanity. I'm not going to pander. So it's going to take me maybe a little longer, but I'll feel better about myself in the end.
Yeah. So what's the vision? Well, you've laid out quite a bit of the vision, but the end goal. How many programs do you think will be in this series, and what sort of numbers of audience would you liked how watching it like around the world.
Globally, if we globally had 1 million people, that would be totally great to me, because they would then talk to other people about it. We have shot the pilot already, which is an hour long, and each episode is an hour. And I've got the scripts all the way through the whole first season, which are 10 episodes. And then I also have 4 additional seasons mapped out that are each 13 episodes. So I'm ready to go. I just need to get my base. And I'm not going to just rely on other people to do it. We have all these different great tools now. And I thought, why not use the tools that are available and just go for it? Because also this gives me the beautiful benefit of having the ability to create on virtually a daily basis. The past 2 weeks, I've been writing every day and shooting things and putting together stuff and editing. And it's really awesome. And just to have that creative flow going and have my other actors, excited, I send them monologues and I'm like, can you tape this and send me the raw footage and I'll edit it. And it's just it's really exciting. It's really, really exciting.
It is. I'm really excited and enthused listening to you talking about it. Your enthusiasm and passion is coming through in spades. Just going to go to the comments section again. Nathan saying, it's interesting to mention shadows, as we only see through a tiny visible spectrum of light, and here also what our brain body downloads. Isabel saying she's got a question. Why did you pick that title? Yeah, it's a good question. The Beautiful Distractions. Why that?
It came to me because the things that change us are usually a distraction of some sort. Like something has to take you from your typical path and break it and take you down a different direction. And to me, that's like a detour, but it's a distraction. It distracts you from the main path. And all of these things ultimately are beautiful. Even if they're ugly and awful, they are beautiful. So it's like, if you have a distraction in your life, if you can look at the beauty in it, you can get the learning. So that's why it's beautiful distraction.
Beautiful. I'm just going to put the website up again. I had it up before, but I thought it would stay, but it didn't. So let's have a look. Beautiful distractions. Typing slowly and carefully so I don't do typos. Beautiful Distractions, the series. So if you want to support Deborah, I know I'm certainly going to, and I'm sure you would love to as well. The website has gone live just literally about an hour ago. It's www.beautifuldistractionstheseries.com. There's some wonderful goodies on there, some interviews and some fun videos that Deborah has sort of shot and uploaded in recent days. And you can pledge your support. Is that right, Deborah? How can they sort of pledge their support? How can they become one of your fans, followers, for want of a better word?
Well, we have the Facebook page, and then we have the website. And if you could just share it and have people watch it. These are Vimeo based, so I can get a real read of how many people are viewing. And I just want to spread the word, and as many people as we can share with as possible would be great. Because we with the cast that we have too, with Highlander guy, Adrian Paul, and Vivica Fox and Sean Young, and then Bobby Clohessy from Blue Bloods and Oz, and the other name actors too are going to be coming on. We've got a lot of great things, and we just need the audience. I'm trying to prove the concept, basically. I need to prove the concept.
Yes, and I'm sure you will. So I see Isabel's put a link in the comments. If you can also share this video out, if you're watching, if you can keep sharing this out, the more it's shared, the more Facebook will show it, the more people can hear about this magnificent work. I'm certain that this will get legs. This will take flight.
I hope so. It's the most fun I've ever had creating anything, ever.
Yeah, and
because of course,
once your heart singing don't work, you'll find the people that you need to help. You've already found the co-actors, and you've written the script, and the pilot's in place, the website's in place. You're now doing interviews, which I know it's not the thing that you normally do the most, but I don't know why you don't do more, because these are awesome.
thank you. This is fun.
Sorry, Nathan saying, what a lovely human being. A credit to our currently lost race. Bless you. Liam James is saying, we'll definitely be watching and supporting. Thank you, Liam, and thank you for joining us. Right. So, Deborah, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up this interview?
No, just thank you so much. This was really fun, and even just by you asking me the questions, it kind of clarifies it even more in my mind, and I feel even more inspired. I'm gonna go write after I do your energy clearing. You're doing it one.
Yeah, that's good. Isabel's doing that, and I'll be showing up for that as well.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
cool.
Deborah, you've been absolutely fantastic, magnificent, a breath of fresh air. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone. Honestly, thank you so much for joining us live, giving us comments, questions, feedback. If you're watching the replay, thank you also. Keep sharing this out. Keep putting your comments in. Facebook will share this to more and more. The algorithm will take over. So, love to you all. Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for watching.
Have a great day.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.